This is really sad. As a former St. Louis principal pleads guilty to hiring someone to kill his pregnant mistress. In 2022, Cornelius Green was indicted for the 2016 murder of Jocelyn Peters, who prosecutors say was carrying his child. The jaw-dropping details don't stop there. This is what the indictment revealed. Green was married, but he had multiple relationships with multiple women. Jocelyn Peters and Cornelius Green were engaged at one point, and in 2015, she became pregnant with his child. Now, the indictment goes on to say that Green devised a plan to murder Peters and their unborn child, that he stole cash from the middle school, from Carline Middle School. Then in March of 2016, listen to this, he sent $2,500 to a guy named Phillip Culter using the school's address. Culter accepted that money for the hit. Culter is going to be standing trial for his role in the murders, his alleged role in the murders, I should say, hasn't been convicted yet. He's just accused at this point. Now, as we call for justice for Jocelyn Peters and her unborn baby, we're also asking the question about that money amount. Who has somebody killed for $2,500 and who accepts such a low amount? Let's talk about this. Let's bring back in our power panel. Dr. Jason Piccolo, let me start with you. Would you kick things off, please?
Sure. $2,500 may not seem like a lot to us, but out there are people willing to do anything for even less amount of money. $500, $200, $1,000. So yes, I mean, it seems like a trivial amount to, a certain amount of people when it comes to death and murder and assassination. But it's just, there are so many people out there willing to do an evil act for even less than that.
This is such an important discussion to have because when you think about the value of a human life, it's priceless, right? And here we've got two lives. We've got that young woman's life, the baby's life, and then you hear $2,500, what? But you've seen it, Dr. Jason. Professor Joe, I'm sure in death investigations you've done, you've heard about some motives. Have you ever heard of anything like this?
Yes, most certainly. I've worked a couple of cases similar to this. And as far as the dollar amount goes, you're right. I mean, I don't know that you could say necessarily it's a sliding scale, but it's dependent upon what the needs are of the person and their willingness to participate in it. There's going to be some very interesting forensics in this case. I think that the perpetrator in this case, actually of all things, is alleged to have used a potato as a suppressor of sound. Fascinated by that element. It's a single gunshot wound to the head, so that means that he had to have pretty close proximity to her. It'd be fascinating to think about what evidence they have found at the scene, collected, and is there a tieback, a physical tieback to perhaps some type of weapon platform this individual possessed? What happened at the scene that led them to believe that this unusual methodology was applied? That'll be fascinating to listen to. And how did he get access to her? I think also is a real big dynamic in this. So this is going to play out. This is going to be one you're probably going to want to sit and watch on Report TV.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you for that, Professor. So thinking about Phillip Culter, the alleged hitman in his trial going forward, Caleb Mason, back to that $2,500. Do you use that some way in the defense if you're defending this guy and say, oh my gosh, who accepts that to do a hit?
Oh, absolutely. If the case ended up not being provable based solely on the forensics, you could attack motive as the defense and make the argument that because the payment was so low, the defendant did not make a deal or conspire to commit murder, that the $2,500 was likely for something else. I don't know, if the forensics are as clear as they may be, then we may not even get into motive, right? As you know, it's an old axiom. You don't have to prove motive. Juries often wonder what the motive is. And so if you have evidence of motive, you definitely want to get into it. But there are many contexts in which part of the defense theory is that the defendant's payment, even if that can be documented, is too low to be essentially what you argue is the market price for the crime. We do see that, for example, in drug smuggling. where people are paid very small amounts and then end up with, a very large load of concealed drugs in the car. We see this at the U.S.-Mexico border in crossing cases with concealed compartments. And defendants often argue that, look, this load was so large and the amount of money that I was given was so small, I might not have known, or I did not know would be the argument, what I was carrying. Something like that could be done here, but I mean, based on what's alleged, it doesn't look like the prosecution is going to need much in the way of motive evidence to prove that this defendant committed the act. And then the jury, will be left to ponder what sort of a world is it where somebody would commit such an act for such a low price.
Right. Isn't that the truth? Caleb Mason, great points to end the discussion on. Thank you so much.